Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. Today's edition, well, we covered Primoz Roglic yesterday, so we might as well cover Remco Evenepoel's Dolphin experience here at 2024. The race is over, as we all know. The Belgium kid, he went top 10 on general classification, won the individual time trial on stage 4. Now, when he won the individual time trial, I told you guys on the butterfly effect that Remco Evenepoel is a time trial specialist. So him winning the individual time trial got a lot of people excited in the comments saying, oh, he's going to win the overall classification and such and ride really good. He's on top form. I remember telling you guys on the butterfly effect that Remco Evenepoel is a pure time trialist, so him winning the individual time trial did not surprise me. It did not mean that he's on his spectacular top form. I told you guys that same day that when you're a pure time trialist, you can time trial all the time. You go into that stage 4 individual time trial, you're fresh, your legs don't have 150 kilometers of riding in them. Then you do another 10 going up 3-4 mountain passes, you hit the last climb, and then you got to be good on the last climb after doing 3 or 4 mountain passes before, and you're doing 180 kilometers. The time trial, you wake up, you warm up, you get recovery. Sometimes you take a nap. Sometimes you warm up in the morning, you'll take a nap, you'll get back on your bike, you warm up right there at the bus, team bus, then you'll go hop on your TT bike, bam, throwing a ton of power on the pedals. Remco Evenepoel, super aerodynamic. Because he's a little bit smaller in size and height-wise, but he's got a lot of power to him. He is the pure time trial specialist. Out of all 4 guys, when we're talking Tadej Pogacar, Primoz Roglic, Jonas Vingegaard, and Remco Evenepoel, he is the pure time trial specialist. So that individual time trial win on stage 4 didn't mean or didn't tell me that he was on his best form. Just told me that he's a pure time trialist, he should win. That's what he did. We saw him going into the next mountain stages, and if I back the film up into stages 2 and 3, we saw then at those stages when they had, we call them summit finishes, but they're category 3 climbs. They're not super difficult, but we know with Primoz Roglic that he's good on that kind of finish, and we know with Remco Evenepoel that normally when both those riders are solid on their form, those category 3 climbs to the finish, if I take you back to last year at Catalonia, it was Primoz Roglic and Remco Evenepoel battling out with each other, and we didn't see Remco up there even trying to win the stage. Now on stage 3, he said he had a slow leak in the back tire, but we saw on stages 2 and 3, Ilan van Wilder was doing his own thing, which told me right away that Remco Evenepoel was not on his best form, even though after stage 4's individual time trial, he won that. Okay, we go into the mountain stages when we're talking about 6, 7, and 8. We see right away Remco Evenepoel's getting dropped on those stages. Played around a little bit, suffered some, set tempo, but in general, each one of those 3 mountain stages, when they came repetitively, it looked like he was using them for training. The first mountain stage he went deep into, trying to stay because he's got the jersey and whatnot, but after that, after Landa was pacing him up the climb, the next 2 stages he took the way I would have done it. The way I told you guys at the beginning before Dolphin started, you don't have to be exceptional at Dolphin. You just have to be with the front group when you're starting the last climb. After that, it didn't matter to me if he's getting dropped, but it looked even better and gave me more hope that between Dolphin before the Tour de France, that he has enough window of opportunity there with those 20 days between one finishing and one starting, that he's got 10 solid days of training. He can diet a little bit after Dolphin. He can diet just a hair before the Tour de France on those last few days when he wouldn't be training so much. I believe, as he said, he can drop a little bit more weight. He could get a little bit sharper in form, and then he'll be ready for the Tour de France. Keep in mind at the Tour de France, he has to be able to survive, not solve, but he has to be able to survive stage 1 attack from UAE team members, because Tadej Pogacar and the director sportives at UAE Team Emirates, they're probably thinking, we don't know exactly how good Jonas is after his crash at the Basque Country. We saw Remco Evenepoel getting dropped at Dauphiné. We saw Primoz Roglic suffering on the last stage of the Dauphiné, big time where he lost 48 seconds to Jorgensen and to Carlos Rodriguez. So UAE team members are probably coming into stage 1 of the Tour de France thinking, if there's any chance that we can catch the other 3 favorites here at the Tour de France off guard, we got to light it up on stage 1. We got to make it as difficult as we possibly can. So Remco Evenepoel has to survive that onslaught of attacks from UAE team members, either a vicious pace setting from all the super domestiques on UAE team members for Tadej Pogacar, and then the acceleration and attack from the Slovenian Tadej Pogacar on the final climbs on that stage 1. If Remco Evenepoel can get through that stage 1, then I'm thinking, okay, Remco Evenepoel is a little bit more in a better position now. He could still continue to ride and gain some more fitness during the first week of the Tour de France, all the way up until that stage 7 individual time trial. But again, when we're talking about Remco Evenepoel and we're talking about stage 7 Tour de France time trial, it's a time trial. It's 25 kilometers long. Just like at Dolphin, and will be almost the identical scenario at the Tour de France, it's 25 kilometers long. So the Belgian kid, where he is a time trial specialist, if his form's not 100%, he can still, at 98%, put in a fabulous time trial on stage 7 of the Tour de France and survive that. Then the next obstacle is, of course, the gravel stage on stage 9 of the Tour de France. Then he gets a rest day. After the rest day, the Belgian kid, Remco Evenepoel, has to be riding 100%. So when I look at Dolphin, I'm giving him an A+. A solid A+ for the way that he has recovered from the crash at the Basque Country, where I pulled up his Strava records and such, and we saw that he had some 400, 350-mile weeks, some 400-mile weeks, 1 week at 530. He didn't have that spectacular of training coming into the Dauphiné. So when he wins the individual time trial, when he's able to follow and only lose a minute on the last mountain stage, I believe he lost 58 seconds to the leaders, only 10 seconds to Primoz Roglic up there, who bonked or blew up or was feeling the effects of the crash. I don't know the exact reason for Primoz Roglic blowing up, but I know Remco Evenepoel was looking solid on that last day and always getting better and better. He's going to have a rest day for sure on Monday after Dauphiné finished, probably another easy day on Tuesday, probably an easy day on Wednesday. Then he's going to go back into his training mode. He has what I believe will be about a 10-day period of some solid training to do. And then you have that 3-day, maybe some riders like 4 or 5 days rest before the Tour de France starts proper. I'm not privy to his exact training program for Remco Evenepoel, so he may like 5. I've seen guys like a week off before the Tour de France. Not off, but not heavy loads of training, not 6 hours of training. So it could be the Belgian rider has at least 10 days of a solid block of training, maybe a little bit less depending on how he likes to get ready and how much rest he needs for the Tour de France afterwards. So it's not a big window, but you add in the 4 decent weeks of training before Dauphiné started. You add in the 8 stages of Dauphiné, which would be a solid week of racing and training and getting your legs motivated. A little bit of a break, now a solid 10-day window of training. You're going to see Remco Evenepoel is going to be very good at the Tour de France. Same, I believe, with Primoz Roglic. Same thing, I believe, with Remco Evenepoel. They're going to come in with that 10-day block of training, plus the rest and recovery from Dauphiné. They're going to be good at the Tour de France. Spectacular on stage 1. I don't know about that. That's difficult to say. But we know Tadej Pogacar will be, right? When is he not? And we know UAE team members will go deep. Now, the biggest worry that I see from Remco Evenepoel leaving the Dauphiné, and this is a big-time worry. This is the biggest thing that Remco Evenepoel and Soudal Quickstep all have to worry about. Ilan van Wilder went down in the crash on stage 5. Did a couple more, 1 or 2 more stages, I can't remember, at Dauphiné, then dropped out. I think he did 2, maybe even 3 stages, but he dropped out before the last stage. That's a worrying thing there for Soudal Quickstep, because Remco Evenepoel on the list, they have 7 riders right now on the list for the Tour de France. I don't know what's factual and what's not, but these are the 7 riders listed on Pro Cycling Stats. When you look at this list, they only have 2 climbers. We got Mikel Landa as the Super Domestique, of course, and then you have Ilan van Wilder. You start looking at the other riders on there, the other 4, none of these guys are climbers. Now they have 1 spot open still, the 8th spot, so you could fill that spot with a Julian Alaphilippe. Maybe the Frenchman, after doing the Giro d'Italia, where we saw him win a stage there, maybe he gets put back on the list for Soudal Quickstep, because it's a question mark right now for Soudal Quickstep's Remco Evenepoel's 2 Super Domestiques. Landa looked good enough to where I was happy how he came in at Dauphiné. Ilan van Wilder's crash, we don't know exactly where he was. Now remember, he wasn't on any kind of stellar, stratosphere out there kind of form at Dauphiné before his crash, but of course we didn't get into the mountain stages, so it's not really fair. Either way though, the question mark, the biggest thing that I see out of Soudal Quicksteps when they're leaving Dauphiné right now, where is only their 2nd climber for the Tour de France as listed right now? Where is his form? How much time will he need to recover after the crash of stage 5 of Dauphiné? That's the big question mark for Remco Evenepoel, and one that he can't fix that, right? Only Ilan van Wilder and the healing powers of Ilan van Wilder's body can fix that, in time for the Tour de France to be ready. So when you're looking at the rosters for the Tour de France as they start to change when we build up to these next 2 weeks going into Tour de France, keep an eye on whether or not if Ilan van Wilder is kept on that roster or left. Now, if they have to remove Ilan van Wilder, remember, he was one spot they have to remove, but they were still missing that 8th rider. So, as I said, Julian Alaphilippe, maybe they bring him in. When we start looking at other riders, Cattaneo, we could see Cattaneo get put on there, but he's not a pure climber, can get through at least through the first 2 and 3 mountains of each of those stages, and then maybe mountain 4, mountain 5 is a little more question for Cattaneo, depending on how fast his pace is going. But Matteo Cattaneo, he is a solid rider, so possibly they're bringing him in. I haven't checked the schedules on what Matteo Cattaneo's been doing, but we do know with Julian Alaphilippe that he did the Giro, he left, so that could be the next spot of one of them, but they still need another spot. Maybe we'll call it James Knox. James Knox, when I look at their list of riders there for climbers, is about the only guy not listed on the Tour de France right now that can get through the mountain stages and at least start the last mountain climb of the Tour de France stages alongside Remco Evenepoel. Because the last thing you do not want Mikel Landa going over the penultimate climb and having to drop back to the team cars. I know that for a fact because I was the last rider riding for Cadel Evans when he was trying to win the Tour de France on the Lotto days when we're talking about 2006 and 2007. I was the only guy that was the climber that was the Super Domestique that was next to Cadel Evans for Team Lotto. Many times we would go over the first climb, we have a whole team together, we go over the second climbs, maybe we have Van Sumerman with us, but then he gets dropped and then we're going over the 3rd or 4th climb and it's only myself and Cadel Evans. That means I had to drop back before the summit of the penultimate climb, grab bottles, come by 4, 5, 6 cars back there, get back to the back of the group when they're going full gas on the front. Then I had to pass 40, 50 riders because Cadel Evans never left the front. That guy was all pro in all seriousness. He never messed around. He never rode at the back of the peloton. So every time I dropped back to the cars, I'd come in through the cars, I'd come in through the whole strung out peloton of 50, 60 riders of the best riders on the best form of their life, and I'm having to come by them single file as we're coming up a Category 1 or an HC climb, the penultimate climb of the Tour de France. Bring Cadel Evans bottle, gels, anything that he wanted, I hand it to him. We go down the descent. When we get to the bottom of the descent, in between the penultimate climb and the last climb, guess what? I'd have to go back to the cars again. And there is no other time going faster than when you're leaving the penultimate climb on the descent, going into the final climb of the Tour de France, and then having to go back to the cars. That period between the penultimate climb, usually going up the penultimate climb, but for sure at the bottom, all the way into the final climb of the Tour de France, it's wicked fast. Strung out, everybody's going 8 back there, and I'd have to drop back to the cars and do it again. So Remco Evenepoel does not want Mikel Landa having to do the job that I did in 2006 for Cadel Evans. Otherwise, Mikel Landa's legs are going to be done right when the climb starts. I remember those years with Lotto. I would probably be able to do 3, maybe 4 kilometers of the last climb of the Tour de France, and then basically hand Cadel Evans my water out of my bottle that I carried up the first part of the climb that I didn't touch, and I'd hand that over to him, and then I'd say good luck, and I'd drop off on that climb, and we're 5K, 3K into it. Cadel Evans had to do the last 17 or 25K, depending on the length of those climbs. So you don't want Mikel Landa being put in that position where I am, which means once Dolphin finished, Ilan van Wilder was the big-time strike that was going against Remco Evenepoel when he starts the Tour de France. Now keep in mind, if they can't replace Ilan van Wilder, and they only have James Knox, if Julian Alaphilippe's not perfect, Remco Evenepoel has to start playing tactical games different. If he went in, let's say, and took the race leader's yellow jersey, let's say he started at Tour de France in magnificent form. You're like, Chris, it's all Tadej Pogacar. Yes, I understand. Tadej Pogacar is the big-time favorite. Let's say, for giggles, that we go into stage 1. Remco Evenepoel's on fabulous form. They have some tactical games. He puts himself in the race leader's jersey. He does not have the team to be able to control the Tour de France race. He does not have the team like UAE team members have where they can ride all day long and go into the penultimate climb without having help for Remco Evenepoel with no Ilan van Wilder there to be able to set tempo up the penultimate climb or to help Mikel Landa and Remco Evenepoel up the penultimate climb. They're in serious trouble. So when I look at Dolphin, again, the biggest strike, Ilan van Wilder missing, that is a catastrophic thing for this year's Tour de France. Now, one other thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to do a whole show all on its own, it's going to have to be the UAE team member's crash of Juan Ayuso. He crashed again, stage 5, just like we saw again from Pseudo Quickstep, where Remco Evenepoel went down. Of course, where Leon Van Wilder went down. Ayuso went down in that same crash, later abandoned at Dolphin. What does that mean for UAE team members? Well, when we look at Tadej Pogacar, it doesn't mean a whole lot. They have 5 solid climbers on that team backing up Tadej Pogacar. When we're talking about the 7th rider, Tim Wellens can climb. When we're talking about their 8th rider, Niels Paulette, he's the only guy that really can't climb on that team. Tim Wellens is not a climber, but he can get over the climbs. All the other guys listed on UAE team members are pure climbers. So let's say you take Ayuso out. I don't even believe he was the main lieutenant. I think that will be Adam Yates will be the last guy doing the work for Tadej Pogacar, because you have Almeida still up there, you have Marc Soler that's in there, and of course you have Sivakov that's still in there. So if they lose Ayuso, it's not a catastrophic thing, but when we start looking at replacements for Ayuso, the first guy that springs to my mind is the American Brandon McNulty. He has the experience of working for Tadej Pogacar during the Tour de France. He has been training in Arizona. I see his Strava record. Saw him do a 130-mile ride. He averaged magnificent power at 280 watts thereabouts. I don't know if it's normalized or if it's regular average power there, but either way, when you look at his time at 5.5 hours to ride 130 miles, the big boy put out some power. Brandon McNulty is training to do the Olympic individual time trial, so he should be 100% on form anyways. So if Ayuso is leaving the Tour de France roster for UAE team members, I see that you could put Brandon McNulty in there. They have the option, of course, of replacing Ayuso with Del Toro, who's over doing Tour of Switzerland right now. He crashed in the prologue, the first stage 1 of Tour of Switzerland, and missed some turns and stuff. He had all kinds of problems. I love the ability and what Del Toro has been doing in this 2024 season. I have never mentioned a Neopro's name over European Peloton up here on the Butterfly Effect and Beyond the Coverage more than I have Del Toro. I have nothing but respect for Del Toro's ability to pedal the bike, but I do question whether or not if he can get himself into a good position at the crucial moments. And we have seen that already. We saw it many times at Tour Down Under. We saw it later at Milan-San Remo. And nothing at those 2 races, nothing that any race that Del Toro has experienced throughout the 24 season will be anywhere near what the battle is like at the Tour de France before the crucial moments. So I want Brandon McNulty on my team. If I'm Tadej Pogacar and Ayuso says, I can't make the Tour de France, I'm calling up the director sportifs. And I know they could possibly come up with the name of Del Toro, but I'm saying nope. I don't want Del Toro. I want the American kid, Brandon McNulty, because I know he's in Arizona. I know he's training in nice weather there. I know it's been perfect. I look at his Strava records. He looks like he could be ready for the Tour de France in no time at all. So I'm making the telephone call to Brandon McNulty, the American rider, to get ready for the Tour de France so long as Ayuso is not back to his normal training schedule at this moment in time right now, because the Tour de France is very close. All right, guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll bring up a little bit of topics, some more, of course, on Beyond the Coverage. We'll have some butterfly effects coming back for the Tour de France. I'm not going to cover any real races coming up between now and the Tour de France that I believe anyways. Maybe something will pop up on the radar, and I'll do a special day for that. But in general, it's Beyond the Coverage. It's getting you guys ready, prepared for this year's 2024 Tour de France. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.